Vince Gilligan's new show Pluribus is shrouded in secrecy, and if you're feeling confused, everything is going according to plan. And you're in the right place, because with the series premiere fast approaching, it seems like the right time to dive into everything we think we know about this mysterious new series. The mind that gave us Walter White and Jimmy McGill is back with a new show. While there are no cartels or blue sky this time around, there's at least one familiar face as Gilligan returns to Albuquerque. Rhea Seehorn loses Kim Wexler's trademark ponytail and hopefully the streak of Emmy snubs she got for playing that role to take on a brand new character the Breaking Bad creator wrote for her specifically. A miserable romance novelist with no poker face who might be our only hope. Will it be another situation where we find ourselves rooting for the bad guy? Apparently not. The premise is that Pluribus is a story about a damaged hero trying to be good. The twist is that she's trying to save the world from happiness. Alright, you've got my attention. It sounds like sci-fi, it's philosophical, possibly paradoxical. It's the kind of twist that could make you lean forward in your chair. But the biggest question is still hanging right there. So what is Pluribus? There is a simple answer to that question. It's almost a complete mystery at this point. And I'll just say up front that I haven't had early access to see any of it yet. I'm going to highlight everything we know based on the limited information available, but be warned. The marketing strategy thus far has been to build anticipation through vague statements and ambiguous clips. Gilligan told TV Insider this is all by design, saying, "We want to keep a lot of it secret, and we tried to hit every sci-fi trope and turn it on its ear," adding they drew inspiration from the film Invasion of the Body Snatchers and the Borg from Star Trek The Next Generation. That article also lists the classic TV series The Twilight Zone as a key inspiration, pointing out that the main character's last name is a homage to the character Fritz Weaver played in the 1960 episode Third from the Sun. As a fan of Gilligan's work, going back to his time on The X-Files, what I like most about this marketing campaign is the confidence it radiates. It's a strategy only a creator with his track record could pull off, a testament to the trust built on the back of Breaking Bad's success. It reminds me of how they leveraged that goodwill to really lean into deep character-driven storytelling with Better Call Saul in a way a brand new show typically wouldn't dare. This kind of confidence allows them to play a longer game, building anticipation rather than giving everything away up front. The teasers are probably the best example of this, and that's not even to mention the countdown timer campaign they used ahead of the release of the first one. Fans spent a couple of days waiting for that to count down, only to be rewarded with the 30-second clip of a woman who was definitely not Rhea Seehorn licking donuts. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in this clip that does a fine job of revealing the name of the series and providing a date announcement. But if you took away the bit in the opening where it says from the creator of Breaking Bad, would it still work? This first teaser is titled Date Announcement, and as I mentioned, it does deliver the November 7 release date. The opening wide shot is what felt most familiar to me, followed by the absurdity of watching her lick each individual donut before replacing it in the box, which has a sign encouraging others to help themselves with a smiley face. Since it features a single unknown character and zero dialogue, the sound really stands out. It begins with the sounds from outside, just generally nature and the chirping of crickets. Then shifts to the sound of her licking, which is heightened in a way that you feel the communion between her tongue and the texture of those sandy pony donuts. And that's followed by an ominous cue that builds up the sense that something's not right in this new world. By the time this teaser came out, I'd already heard rumors that the show might be about a happiness virus and possibly a hive mind situation, so her licking the donuts and giving them away to spread the infection seemed to track. But then also, those are rumors I read on the internet, so do with that what you will. Since I brought up the hive mind, I should probably mention that the word pluribus is Latin and translates to many. If you're from the US and wondering why that sounds so familiar, the Great Seal of the United States features the phrase e pluribus unum, and that's printed on the back of every $1 bill. It's also legally required to be printed on all US coins and translates to out of many, one. When the name was announced along with this first teaser, they replaced the I in Pluribus with a number 1 to perhaps further hint at a collective mind. Because that's the thing, as I mentioned, a virus that makes everyone happy doesn't necessarily seem like a bad thing. But as we continue through these teasers, it does become clear that Carol is the center of this story. While the audience is meant to question whether she's right in trying to stop what's happening, the show seems to actively explore the question of whether it's a bad thing or not. Ultimately, you'd imagine you're intended to root for her to succeed by the end. That sets the stage for the second teaser, titled with the telephone number that leads to a text message campaign that I'll get to in a minute. It features Carol in her home, watching what looks like someone official giving a press briefing on a television screen. There's a sense of disbelief, and the fact that she's carrying a golf club, presumably to protect herself, highlights her isolation. She's alone, and we see a text message appear on the screen line by line as she walks towards her home phone, which is notably the only item in the room that's in focus. To its left, we see an out-of-focus photo of 2 women, likely Carol and her manager. The text overlay reads, "Hello Carol, call us." While she eventually picks up the receiver, the whole thing is loaded with hesitation and reluctance. It gives a vibe that someone, or I suppose someone's might make more sense in this context, knows who she is, and probably that she's immune and is trying to reach out to her, trying to figure out what's going on with her while she's trying to figure out what's going on with them. This then leads to the final teaser that's titled Welcome Carol. While there hasn't been a lot of promotional materials released, I think this most recent teaser helped me connect the dots to some exclusive images Polygon used in their interview with Rhea, where we see her alone on a plane, probably traveling to where the next clip takes place. It shows her in Las Vegas as she pulls up to the Westgate Hotel, which has a personalized welcome message just for her. Again, she's alone. There are no other characters in the shot, no dialogue, and that forces the silence to the forefront. At first, I thought she had some sort of metal briefcase sitting next to her, but then as she pulls away, you realize the best-selling romance novelist is driving a police car. So the thing sitting on the front seat is probably related to that. And of course, there's no explanation for why she's driving a police car. While this all adds up to a big question mark and a series of pieces that aren't sufficient to put together for a complete picture of the puzzle, you do really start to feel the sci-fi aspect of this start to kick in. And I didn't forget about the sorry about the blood teaser, but those two work together, and this one is pretty straightforward since we have no context to make it make sense. It stands out from the other ones because she's outside, and we can see people walking around in the background. So she's not alone, but we don't see her interact with anyone. There's another overlaid message that reads, "Hello Carol, we'll put things right. Sorry about the blood." And then the telephone number is displayed again. She's visibly not happy. You see that when she notices how much blood is on her white t-shirt. And overall, she looks sort of exhausted. Blood is a pretty good hint that something significant occurred, but as I've already said, you can't really put it together by watching the clip. Collectively, these 4 cryptic teaser trailers, along with a donut truck pop-up at San Diego Comic-Con, and a mysterious text message campaign paint a picture of a protagonist caught in a strange, unsettling situation where the lines between reality and the agency she has in confronting the big picture are being blurred. The phone number is real, and if you can call US numbers, you can call it or send it a message to get on a list to receive text messages from the show. Most of them have a similar feel to what you see in the teasers, and I suppose time will tell if it's all leading somewhere. The official pitch for Pluribus describes it as a genre-bending original in which the most miserable person on Earth must save the world from happiness. The tagline used in early promotions was, "Happiness is contagious." Gilligan calls it mild science fiction or psychological sci-fi, stressing that it's not set in space. You'd expect for it to be blended rather than straight sci-fi. And based on who's involved, you know it's going to be a grounded human drama. So it takes you back to the comparisons to shows like The Twilight Zone and The X-Files, where Gilligan got his start in TV writing. And while I've seen comparisons to other Apple TV shows like Severance, I expected to do some interesting things with the genre angle, but I feel like it'll still have the DNA that we recognize from Gilligan's earlier work. Despite its serious side, the show's also described as hilariously funny, with flashes of dark, unexpected humor. Rhea Seehorn notes the tone is slippery and that the show swings for the fences. It is a departure from the anti-hero focus in Breaking Bad, and Gilligan said the idea first came to him 10 years ago when he was working on its prequel, Better Call Saul. Seeing Rhea's work on that project made him decide to gender swap the protagonist and write the role for her. In a 2022 interview in The New Yorker that came out after Saul's finale, he said, "For my next show, I'd like the lead character to be an old-fashioned hero, an old-fashioned good guy. Jim Rockford is kind of rough around the edges, but he always does the right thing. 15 years ago when I was conceiving of Walter White, I looked around and thought, well, what is current TV? It's mostly good guys. But now I'm looking around thinking, gee, there's an awful lot of bad guys on TV, and not just on shows, but on the news. It feels like a world of shitheels now, both in fiction and in real life. I think it's probably time again for a character who doesn't go for the easy money. I'd be very happy if I could write a more old-fashioned hero, someone who is not out for themselves at every turn." In his conversation about the character with TV Insider, he described Seehorn's character as a romance novelist and curmudgeon, who we can presume has experienced some success from her writing since it's reported that she's on a book tour with her manager when we first meet her. Gilligan mentioned that these two actors had wonderful chemistry on set, which led fans to theorize that they might be in an intimate relationship. Seehorn seemed to soft confirm this in an interview with Polygon while comparing her new character to Kim Wexler, saying, "I think that Kim was her truest self only around Jimmy, and Carol is her truest self only around her partner, and when she doesn't have the social buffer, she's very much at a loss socially." This social inhibition is something the characters share, as well as an unshakable set of rules and ethics they impose on themselves. But Seehorn says her role as Carol in Pluribus is quite different from how she portrayed Kim. She says Wexler was extraordinarily tightly controlled in what she let people know about what she was thinking, while Carol has no poker face whatsoever. Kim always seemed to have it together and was willing to make things happen for herself. She had that famous line to Jimmy in Better Call Saul Season 2 saying, "You don't save me, I save me." In contrast, she describes the reluctant hero Carol as someone who is just hoping that somebody else will take the lead in Pluribus and tell her what to do, and the problem is that nobody will. This seems particularly important to the show's construction because one detail Gilligan did let slip is that the world she inhabits changes very abruptly in the first episode. Entertainment Weekly describes this as a mysterious virus sweeping across Albuquerque, indoctrinating the world into a state of optimism and contentment. This sounds like it should be okay, but they also throw around words like apocalyptic and dystopian, and it's particularly not okay for Carol, who turns out to be somehow immune to whatever is happening. This leads to confusion, which is followed by rage, and ultimately the first season seems to revolve around her trying to find answers about what's going on. Gilligan says there's going to be complications arising from that. Pluribus marks Vince's first project outside the Breaking Bad universe in 17 years. He does have another co-created by credit for the short-lived Battle Creek, which was a show CBS developed based on a script he wrote years earlier, but he wasn't really involved in production because he was working on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul at that time. On Pluribus, he's been very clear. There's no crime and no methamphetamine. Unlike the anti-heroes Walter White and Saul Goodman, as I've mentioned, Seehorn's character is a damaged hero who is trying very hard to be good. This reinforces Gilligan's stated desire to write more good guys, after years of making villains seem aspirational. This is a significant genre shift from crime drama to science fiction. Despite these differences, the show is once again set in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Gilligan says this is due to his love for the city and the crew he's developed there over the years, and stresses that there's not a secret connection to his previous shows. While Gilligan has firmly stated Pluribus is not set in the Breaking Bad universe, he couldn't help but tease that fans who pay close attention might find an Easter egg or two from his previous works. The show also reunites Gilligan not only with Rhea Seehorn, but also with many of his trusted writers and producers. Rhea's involvement is truly at the heart of the show. It's worth stressing again that Gilligan wrote the lead role specifically for her. Seehorn has called the role and the show very challenging in the best way, and said it's extremely unlike anything I've ever done before. She describes the tone as slippery and difficult to pin down, noting that she and Gilligan often film scenes in multiple ways to find the right performance. Reading her extended interview in Polygon gives you the sense that each episode feels like a new show, and to that Seehorn responded, and yet they are connected. It's just that Vince is asking you to experience this as it comes. He's playing with our preconceived notions about not just where we think the story's going to go, but what we would do in a certain situation. And that brings out the thriller suspense part of it, because you're like, what's gonna come at me next? There's a mystery. That absurdity also leads itself to being really funny in its observation of humans and how we behave when we're taken outside of our comfort zones. It also engenders a lot of really deep philosophical questions that the crew and I wrestled with. As a card-carrying sci-fi head, this is the kind of thing I like to hear, and it gives me some assurance that the payoff to the way they're presenting the show will be worth it. As far as the production details are concerned, everything, including the 2-season order that guarantees at least one more season after this one, sounds pretty good. The show was first reported to be in development in 2022. Apple TV won the bidding war and gave the series that 2-season straight-to-series order. The series is produced by Sony Pictures Television. Like Breaking Bad, Vince Gilligan has the solo created by and showrunner credits this time around, roles he shared with Peter Gould on Better Call Saul. While Gould has expressed interest in working on some projects of his own after more than a decade of collaboration, many names associated with the Breaking Bad universe are still involved. The executive producers include Gordon Smith, Allison Tatlock, Diane Mercer, Alice Ozarski, and Jeff Frost, many of whom are returning collaborators from the Breaking Bad universe. While the full details of the writer's room and a list of who wrote the individual episodes aren't available yet, Gordon Smith, who worked his way up from an assistant on Breaking Bad to be a key writer and executive producer on Better Call Saul, is joined by his fellow EP from that show, Allison Tatlock, to be the most notable writer-producer names on Pluribus. As per usual, Gilligan will be directing the series premiere, and that's all we know about the directors. You imagine there will be a lot of familiar names once they release that list. Season 1 will have 9 episodes, with the first 2 premiering together on Friday, November 7th, 2025 on Apple TV+. After that, a new episode will be released weekly every Friday, meaning the season finale will air on December 26th, 2025. While this all sounds fantastic, there is an inherent gamble. The debut of Pluribus is shaping up to be an event more than a series premiere, and internet opinions are pretty fickle, so you have to appreciate seeing them take this shot. Honestly, they had me at Rhea Seehorn because I'd pretty much watch her do anything. And of course, having the Breaking Bad guy on board is a nice bonus. But seriously, I hope they can pull it off and give us something we can all watch together like we used to. Something they proved themselves capable of. So while Pluribus remains largely shrouded in secrecy, that's precisely what makes it so exciting. Not to beat a dead horse, but Vince Gilligan and his team are clearly playing a long game, building an incredible amount of anticipation for what promises to be a rewarding and thought-provoking experience as he returns to his sci-fi roots. I'm curious to hear your theories and how you're processing the vague clues that we're getting in the comments, because I, for one, can't wait to dive into this new world and unravel its mysteries with all of you, and I think that's a great place to leave things. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.